on Bitcoin, by the way? Are you fooling around with crypto?
I was, and I had a thing back in November of, gosh, I guess it was 2022. And I told my wife, I'm like, okay, I get these weird feelings, Chael, right? First weird feeling I had was Vegas. Let's buy something in Vegas. And by the way, this, for anybody out there that gives a crap about investing, Vegas is the place of tomorrow, because they're building studios there. Sony Studios is being built there. And another big, I want to say Disney is also building sound stages. Now you have, at that time though, it was 2016, and I go, I got this weird feeling we should buy something in Vegas. We go to Vegas, we see a new house, we walk in, and I'll never forget, it had this big glass like LED thing, and the guy comes out and he says, these are our model homes and this and that. And I said, how much are they? And he said, they start at $315. And I was like, that's pretty good, brand new house, Vegas. I think they're gonna be putting a professional football team here. There's rumblings, okay? Well, obviously they put the professional football team. We went a year later, a little over a year later, back there. We didn't buy the house. Went to the same guy in the same room, and I kid you not, I said, how much do these start at? Same houses. He goes, they start at $390, so it had already gone up significantly. And now you say to yourself, well, crap, I didn't invest, right? I didn't invest, so I'm not going to invest now. It's too late. I should have done it when I did it. Now if I go, what if it goes the other way? It just kept going up and up and up. But I got to tell you, now, today, 2024, Vegas is the place to buy a house. Circling back to crypto, I had the same thing. I told my wife, I feel this crypto stuff. I don't know much about it, but it was in the ether and people were talking about it. I said, the regular Joe is going to start investing in this big time. Yep. Now, to my wife's credit, she bought crypto when it was $5, Chael. $5, like way a long time ago. And she sold it when it went up like...
Yeah, that would have been around 214, 213, 14, 15, yep. Yeah.
And she sold it. She kind of like made a profit and was happy with the profit she got. But she would have obviously made a ton more if she stayed with it. So let that be known that she's a pretty good investor. However, when I said, now let's reinvest in crypto, let's buy some Bitcoin, let's buy 2 of them, they were $16,000. She went to go buy it. She handles all that stuff. Next thing I know, it was like a week and a half. I go, do we own it? And she's like, well, it takes a minute. The money's going to get in the thing. And I think she was just a little nervous at the time of spending that kind of money. It went up to 50 something in that, like 3 months later, and we didn't own any of it. So because then I was like, all right, it's too late. Now it's already up. It's not gonna, let's just wait. A disaster. So my thing with crypto is a full disaster. I don't invest when I should invest. I zig when I should zag. What about you?
Well, but at least you know about it. I mean, I have a very similar story where it's all look back and it's nothing but regret. And it's like, oh, I could have done that. And if we can go back to Vegas, you still feel that it's a good time. Right now is still a good time. Vegas is still on its way up.
100%.
Wow. I like that. I had an opportunity in something called Trump Tower, which is now being used as a hotel. But this was condos at the time, $750,000. You just simply could not get in for under $750,000. And those same ones came down during the recession to where you could not pay more than $250,000. And it should have been something to jump on, but it was going down. I felt like I was grabbing a falling knife, is the expression that investment guys like to use. I didn't do it. And yeah, it fully recovered. And yeah, here we are, but it's still a good time. That's interesting. Mark Wahlberg moved out there, by the way.
Mark Wahlberg moved there. He's investing. He's with that Sony investment and doing the whole movie studio thing. So when it leaks that a movie studio is considering building sound stages, right? Usually what it means is that the film commission is going to be approving some sort of rebate. So Georgia, right? Atlanta, what films in Atlanta these days? Everything films in Atlanta. And the reason is because they give you 35 or 40% kickback. So if you pay $100 million for a movie, so Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just shot Red One there, his new Christmas movie that's coming out on Netflix soon. He'll spend $150 or $200 million. He'll get back 80. The state will give him back, they give the production company $80 million back. We shot Bad Boys there. The last 2 Bad Boys were filmed there. Only locations were shot in Miami. So you shoot all the exteriors to make it look like you were in Miami the entire time. The rest of the movie is shot in Atlanta. Vegas, I think, is the next big hub. It's close to LA. Let's think about it. To go to Atlanta, it's a totally different time zone. There's a lot of factors. But for people in Hollywood, Hollywood's never going to be Hollywood anymore. It's just too expensive here. The economy's all screwed up. So what's happening is they're looking for places that can give them rebates and they can shoot in that are versatile. And Vegas is pretty versatile. It's like, it looks good. There's lots of great stuff to film there. And they will take advantage of it. And I truly believe that Nevada will give the film people a big rebate like Atlanta did, and everything will start filming in Vegas. I'm going to say 2 years, you watch, these studios will be up, and a house that is $700,000 right now will be $1 million one.
And how's the market? Have you looked into that? Like, let's say that I want to go and get a house, and I just love Vegas. My wife and I fantasized. Dana had brought us into an Ultimate Fighter, so we lived there, and it was only 33 days, but we lived there. He got us a house. We brought our pets, and so now you're having dinner and these just wonderful food, and there's some entertainment, good energy. Okay, let's say I go buy a house in Henderson.
Yep.
That seems to be where a lot of people move out to. Randy Couture to name drop there. Can I rent it? And is it an Airbnb situation? Like, what can I do with the time I'm not there?
I have an Airbnb here in LA. Okay, we rent our place in an Airbnb situation, and LA is a little more lenient. I believe that Las Vegas, don't take my word for this, Joe, but I'm pretty sure that Vegas clamps down on it because the casinos are losing business when you're not renting a hotel room. So then they're paying the people in power, right, to not let Airbnb. So they give you very strict rules, like you can only rent, 3 days out of the month, or it has to be 30 days or more. So you can't take their business from them to the people that want to come in to Las Vegas for a night or two and rent your place. They're like, it's got to be a 30-day rental, which you can find. By the way, you can find people, because I do it on Airbnb. We have somebody there now that rents long-term. So you can get like 30 days, 45 days, and you can do the maximum. So if you know you're not going to go until summer, let's say, and you want to rent it out for the winter, you can absolutely do that. You will be able to, and it's going to get better and better for the long-term rentals as these things are go. There's supposedly a baseball team coming to Vegas, a professional MLB team. Okay, that's like in the works, and I think I don't know if it's been approved, but it's really, really close. And these studios, I'm telling you, once that hits, the economy is going to be insane there. When movie studios come and people are filming, it stimulates everything. Then you have the casinos, then you have the everything else that goes on, the professional sports, and then you'll have Hollywood. It's going to be the place. And I would highly recommend Henderson or Southern Highlands. Southern Highlands is like a new development on your way back to LA in the South. And it's like the southernmost part of Las Vegas. And it's beautiful. They're building all new homes there, golf courses, gorgeous. Now, another thing.
But it is still Las Vegas. It's not all the way down.
It's still Las Vegas. Yeah. Las Vegas proper. It takes about 12 minutes to get there. So when you're driving into Vegas from LA, if you've ever done that drive on the 15, it's the first thing you hit when you arrive in Vegas. But it's super populated. I mean, it's like a city and it's beautiful. Everything's brand new. But I'm a Henderson guy too. I really like it. It's very nice. You should look into it. Now, another little tip. I only know one guy that is like one of the smartest people I know, owns a soundstage here in Los Angeles. This guy built a place called Hollywood Studios, and it's in Van Nuys, and he rents this soundstage, like music videos, commercials, things like that. The guy is printing money, Chael. And about 2 or 3 years ago, he invested in the MGM Grand Towers, and he spent like $199 for a little condo, like a 1-bedroom unit. And he bought 3 of them, and he rents them. They rent them for you there. So when there's spillover at the MGM, they say, we have room in our towers. And then they rent your thing for you, Chael. And you can black out the dates that you're going to be there with your family. And that is a fantastic investment. He is making more money from that. And when he told me about it, I remember saying, that's a smart investment. And this is a smart guy. I should listen. And I didn't buy one. But I'll pass it along to someone who's maybe more proactive, you.
I saw those. I actually looked at those as well. And they call it like signature or something along these lines. But yes, I saw that. And Brad Garrett was living there. I just seen he was coming down when he was playing Las Vegas a lot. Hey, I got something else. Topic change, but I got something else. And I want you to objectively tell me, like, if I'm on the wrong side of this, that's fine too. If you're a juror, okay, I have a friend here in Oregon. Now, by friend, I don't have his phone number, like know when his birthday is, but I've known the guy 30 years. We've been in the same circles to where he'll be in a room or something, whether I speak to him, but I've known him. His name is Chad. And something happened 2 weeks ago, and apartment complex situation. He was there visiting his sister. The niece in question, who is underage, I don't know her age, but she's less than 18, believed that she was being stalked or somehow followed. Chad went and confronted that person. And that person, who, by the way, could be a perfectly great guy, one-sided story, but this is the fact, that person pulled a weapon, a knife.
Oh, a knife.
That person then used it on my friend, stabbed him. Chad got the knife back. Oh, I apologize. The guy not only stabbed him, he then slashed across the face. He got him a couple times. Fight ensues. Chad gets the knife. Chad has him mounted.
Chad's an MMA guy? I'm just curious. He could fight.
He did a couple of MMA. I don't know if he actually trained it, but yeah, he actually showed up and just did some fights. He's a wrestling guy. I have known him from the wrestling community. And Chad ends up stabbing the guy, and the guy dies. The guy initially goes to the hospital. It looks like we've got a mutual assault here. Both got stabbed, but one's in worse shape. The guy, while in the hospital, passed. All of a sudden, that charge is now murder. And I'm just asking you from an objective standpoint, if this other person is the one that brought the weapon, oh, and by the way, used the weapon. So they've both done the same thing. It's the same weapon.
Mutual combat.
Both used it. One result was worse than the other, but one is being charged and one is being charged with nothing because he is passed. I'm just wondering, as a juror, is that murder to you?
No.
It sounds like an overcharge to start with.
Big time overcharge. This is manslaughter. First of all, this is involuntary manslaughter. Like, let me just say, I'm not a lawyer before anybody starts saying crazy things. I don't know maybe 100% what I'm talking about, but this is going to sound silly, but I'm a true crime expert. I've seen every episode of Dateline that's ever been made, and I'm not making a joke. It is my religion. Dateline is everything to me. So I understand how these things work. Your friend needs to get a really good lawyer and shut his mouth, okay? That's number one. Because what they do is they try to scare you into a confession. So they get a little gold star, the police, when things don't go to trial, right? We don't go to trial. We don't cost a lot of money for the city and et cetera. So, but the DA will only bring charges if they really think they can win the case, right? This is everything I've ever seen. If it was not premeditated in any way, now your friend did not go there with a weapon. That's the key thing. If your friend had a backup weapon, that's different. But if your friend went there just to talk to the guy, things got physical and he got stabbed first, you are 100% in the right to protect your life at all costs, okay? So that is mutual combat, and the guy pulled the knife. I think your friend has nothing to worry about. I don't ever see it going to trial. The only thing that would mess him up is if he started talking crazy and speaking to the police and at 13 hours, sitting there in an interrogation room and saying something crazy. Lawyers are worth their weight in gold when you get into trouble.
One thing the police hate is if they're lied to. If they're lied to, they'll just assume it was for something nefarious. And they'll probably make a very good point. When the whole thing happened and the gentleman in question was in the hospital, okay? My friend, because he was stabbed, also went to the hospital. And instead of saying I'm stabbed because he felt that would warrant an investigation, he said I was in a motorcycle accident.
Okay, gotcha. That's going to work against him.
But right there, see, they're upset about that now. Because now you've got a contamination charge that's being added, or a covering of evidence. You've got other things that are being added. And I think we could all understand why one would lie in that situation. But either way, it's a bit of a spot. Now I got a bad twist. Okay, but you said you like Dateline. There's always a twist.
Yo, always.
The video. My friend and this guy get into a fight. And I believe it is even his sister, the mother of the niece in question. But
filming.
She is filming. And when she's filming, my friend is in mount. My friend has subdued the person,
okay,
has taken the weapon away. We don't know that my friend is stabbed at that point, but we're assuming now. My friend says, if you guys will stop filming, I will take care of this now. They stop filming.
Uh-oh.
Whatever happens, but then the gentleman gets stabbed. And see, for murder, there must be a premeditation. But Mike, premeditation can be very quick. Like, I would think the one that brought the weapon is more likely to be. But if my friend has him mounted and is thinking clearly, but here's what we don't know. And here's to your point where he really needs to shut his mouth. We have no idea what happened after that because we don't have any footage. And perhaps my friend hadn't been stabbed at that point. Perhaps they did handle it. He let him up. I didn't want to film an awkward conversation where I'm accusing you of stalking my underage niece. So, I mean, there's a lot of answers that it could be. It doesn't mean if you turn that, I'm going to stab this guy 8 times. But I'm just sharing with you, first off, my friend's very poor. He's a wrestler. I don't like when anybody has to get incarcerated because they're poor.
Yes.
And he is facing that. And I can't just look the other way at that video. That's powerful. But I can't look the other way that he didn't bring the weapon. And by the way, he didn't use it first. So if my friend doing this is murder, the other guy did this and he did this first. I think I make a reasonable point. I don't know where the law sits, but if you were a juror,
yes,
I think you'd listen to some degree, I would hope.
I would. And it definitely wouldn't be murder one. It would be, if any murder thing, it would be murder two. No premeditation. That's number one. Number two, the problem that I see with what you just told me is he had him in mount. So here's what's going to happen. They're going to bring in an expert. If they go to trial, they're going to bring in an expert to say, what is a mount? What position is he in there? Okay. And they're going to say he's in a fully dominant position where the other man is not able to move. And the lawyer for the dead guy is going to say, you are a trained fighter. Yes, you are a wrestler. You have experienced, professional level wrestling or college wrestling. They're going to throw that in his face. They're going to say, did you know the position you were in on him? Yes. Did he have a chance of getting up and hurting you? Right? In that position. And he has to say, well, there's always a chance. I don't know this guy's training. He could have another weapon that he can grab from underneath and stab me in the back. I don't know what's going to happen. Now, the one thing you said that was weird, though, was that he said, if you would stop filming, I can handle this. Does that mean like that? That is going to sound to a juror like, shut the camera off. I'm going to kill this dude. For sure. No, that's one of the big problems. And I don't know, had my friend been stabbed. And it's very relevant. They had fought over a knife, and my friend's got him out. And he says, turn the camera off so I can handle this. That could be an awkward conversation. I think that he could sell that maybe that was his intent. But if he hadn't been stabbed yet, he'd probably be free and clear. That means he got up, hey, take your knife, get the hell out of here. No, sucker. True.
I mean, things are very different. And my friend did get his face slashed. And within the video, from the part that I could see that was released to the media, his face was not slashed at the time that he has mount. Yes, which means, so we don't know if this is 5 seconds after they stopped filming or 5 minutes. But that video is very misleading. I had something like this happen to me one time where the police have come in and they're like, where is the other victim? There wasn't one. The reason you don't see another victim is there isn't. I think they just like vanished into thin air. But the media use that. They shorten the tape. They only show that. And all of a sudden you have some explaining to do. It's like, come on, guys.
Yep. Now, listen.
Can be misleading.
Yep, totally. Well, I wish him all the best. Did he get bailed? Is there a bail number they gave him?
No. And they
He's in jail?
Yes, he's sitting down there. So I made some calls. And I don't know what my involvement would need to be, but I have known the guy for 30 years and I happen to see the news piece. So I made some calls and people let me know, hey, look, he's got family. His mother, just by example, is still around. His father has not passed away. So he will have somebody looking into him. But then the sister in question that turned the camera off, they came and got her for some kind of like an accessory or helping to cover or something weird. It got weird because they went to the hospital and said motorcycle. That was a big deal where the police just go, hey, we can't trust you now.
Yeah.
Like, well, I didn't lie to you. I lied to the doctor and I'm in shock and I'm stabbed and I really need stitched up. So I think that there was maybe a little bit of reason, but you don't always have time to explain. Perception it's a big deal.
Yeah. Perception is reality a lot of the time in people's minds. This is why a good lawyer, and I don't know what kind of money he has or if his mom has a home, maybe a lot of times you see people will put up something like their home to get a good lawyer, and it's worth it. Because a good lawyer can argue their way out of anything. And they can make everything look like it's not as bad as it is. And they're really, really good at it. If he gets a public defender, you're really gambling. Especially for a case like this, because it is tricky and you're going to have a jury. And it's not, it's not going to be a bench trial, most likely. You're going to have a jury and they're going to be, if you can be compassionate for this guy, he was insane. His niece was being stalked and being hurt. He was in a rage. He had been stabbed. He was trying to defend himself. He was just, if he's not stabbed, if his face isn't messed up before, like when in the video you saw, if that's true, I think he's way better because he can say, I let him up. We were going to talk about, he slashed my face. And next thing you know, I was defending myself.
I think that same thing. Yeah, those little details really matter. There was a guy, you would have seen this. It was somewhere, and I want to call it the South, but it's something like this. But it was a father and son, and there was a guy, and the guy was black, and he was out like working out or something. He was like on a run, but he was in a neighborhood where they didn't recognize him. It was something weird like this. I don't know if you remember that, but there ended up being a shotgun involved, and the gentleman died.
Yeah.
Very tough stuff. They charged with murder, not accessory, not after the fact, with the same murder. They charged the person that filmed it. And the person that filmed it hand that over to the police to say, hey, just so you understand. I think he was on the side of the father-son. Maybe he was on the wrong side of it. But either way, he had filmed and he gave it to him, say, hey, let me let you guys know exactly what happened. And they said because, he was filming as opposed to getting involved or yelling stop or something along those lines. There was a Seinfeld. They made a big joke about it, but the Good Samaritan law. And I sure wasn't familiar with a law like that.
Yep.
They all went down. The guy holding the camera took an equal charge.
Whoa.
And that's something that came up with for bank robbers. Somebody go, well, I was just the driver. It's like, well, if you're the driver of a crime where a death occurs, you've done murder. And so anyway, the way they, I'm not speaking right to the law, but the fact that he filmed it without trying to stop, he got hit with a murder charge too. Tough stuff.
Tough stuff. And it's like state to state, right? It's not a federal law. So it's like, depends on the state. So some states have just so many funky laws and in different places that just allow for these crazy things. And that for sure, you said Florida, right? Florida's always like the craziest place. It's like every time you hear something about Florida, it's like crazy police situation, murders, whatever.
Yes, they're like some other states can't relate to. You go, really? That's the law there? I don't think it is here. Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. Sometimes it would help you. And sometimes you think about that stuff, you're like, I'm moving there because I would get away with blank. And then other stuff, you're like, no, I'm not going there because I'd be screwed.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how bad do we need to feel for victims of hurricane? And I only ask that because it comes every year. It's not a maybe. It's not maybe will we be hit or maybe be effective. Like it's for sure. Your insurance, if you're renting or buying a home, your insurance is crazy money in Florida. Why? Because you're going to be hit with a hurricane. So I'm just asking, like when we look at this and there's devastation and nobody's ready for it, do we bring FEMA? Do we bring the state? It's like, well, in fairness, I'm in Westland, Oregon. I could not be further from where that hurricane happened. And I knew 4 days in advance it was going to happen. So for you to not have the 18-wheelers rolling out there, and on the other hand, for people to act like, hey, this is terrible and my house went up. It's like, well, yeah, but that's why they charge you $9,000 a month in insurance, because for sure the house is going to get every year. And every now and then there's a really bad one. I'm just wondering, I want to have compassion, and I do. I'm just wondering, as a human being, how much compassion do I need to have if you knew it was coming?
Right. But here's the thing though, Chael. Okay. I'm going to play the compassion police here. I'm going to maybe make an argument for the compassion.
Cover us here, Mike. We're in this together. Accessory. You're an accessory to my insensitivity. All right, go ahead.
Here's what I think. That it's not as easy as we think, because guys like us, maybe most people in the world, yes, you can get up and move. You can take people. What about you have an elderly parent? This is the place where you grew up. This is the place where your job is, and you can't just leave, right? And you can't move. You definitely can't move. You were raised in that home. It's the only thing you own. Your parents left it to you, whatever. And now you have children and a job, and it's very, very difficult for you. So yes, they saw it coming. They try to batten down the hatches as much as possible. But moving or leaving in an 18-wheeler is not possible for a lot of people. Some people are living paycheck to paycheck, and it's extremely difficult for them. And they know they live in Hurricane Alley. Some insurance company won't even insure certain places. So yes, it's a big red flag, and maybe over time you should move. But there are roots, Chael, and there are people, and there are loved ones and sick relatives, etc. And that's who I feel the worst for is the people that are. What about the people that are in hospitals and hospice care when that shit hits, and then the power goes down and all these problems. So I think if you look at it maybe from that angle, but otherwise, yeah, if you're looking for homes and you can afford other places and you have no emotional attachment to Hurricane Alley, maybe don't move to Hurricane Alley. But I think there's a lot of people that are there and they're stuck there.
By the way, Mike, I got hit by a fully loaded gravel truck with trailer. I got hit. This was 15 years ago. The only thing that I came out with is my back hurts, so I can never sit still. In case you're just wondering, like, why is Chael? Man, I gotta get a better chair. I gotta get one where
my chair's bad too.
All of life is good but I gotta have my feet up just a little bit. I just thought I would explain that to you real fast. Hey, on the 18-wheeler comment, by the way, I was actually talking about government assistance. FEMA doesn't even make their way over there until after it hits. They get there 4 days later, a week into it. They're turning Elon Musk and trying to turn things on. I'm talking about getting your asses out there. Tim Kennedy, total stud.
Great fighter.
I'm very proud of him. I really am. And you don't get to be proud of somebody very often. Like, that's kind of a weird word to use on anybody that's not your children.
Yeah.
I am so proud of this guy. And he's out there, and I believe Delta Force is what he's called. I'm going to call him that. So he and a bunch of Delta guys, go out and they get helicopter, they get everything that you could possibly do. And I don't know that they're being paid because they're going to go rescue the people you're talking about. The little old lady in the mountain who's counting on something. Her caretaker didn't come in that day. FEMA shuts them down, won't let them through, and says, we are in charge, we can't get through. And Tim personally pleads with them, give us command. We are Delta Force. This is a rescue mission. This is not a protect and feed somebody. There's some bad stories and I've got to go get them. They told him no. And Tim and the boys didn't hear them say it, apparently, because they went the hell in. And they did rescue them. And they did get those little old ladies. And they come back, and then Tim's trying to check families into hotels that can't do it because it's full of federal employees from FEMA. And Tim's going, but some of them aren't even here yet. You've reserved the whole hotel. This is a family. They haven't eaten. They have not, like, I got to get them into a room so that I can go. I need to get back and go get the next crew. I just thought it was a surprise. I'm going, how do you not have the assistance on the way? How are you telling Elon Musk? And one of the big reasons, and it all depends on where you stand. So maybe I'm revealing myself here, but they wouldn't let, it was no fly zone. So Tim and the crew can't fly helicopters, in which they need, but now they can't fly drones. And they need the drones just to see where people are,
Sure.
So they can go
Yes.
extract them. And the belief by people like me, I think they banned the drones because that's also what the media uses to cover the
Yes.
devastation of which they're coming out and telling us doesn't exist. Whether that's accurate or that's inaccurate, but that's the side that I believe. I do believe Elon Musk. I do believe that he had millions and millions of dollars of equipment that he wanted to put up there, and I believe that because he's done it in other places like Ukraine. It seemed like something he would do.
Yeah, it seems like the federal government would be like, hey, guys, we're screwing up this mission. You know what I mean? We're already screwing it up. We don't need you coming in. Right. And it's like, it's this elitist mentality. It's like, we're FEMA, we're the feds, we're so badass. And it's like, they were not there for any of the major hurricanes. If you really look, I've never seen FEMA do an awesome job. Right. Even here in Los Angeles, we're one shake away, Chael, from this place going kaput. Like, people don't understand. I will direct you to a video I was on the Conan O'Brien show with the head of seismology. The head of Seismology Institute. It's a woman. And she is on the show and she is telling Conan O'Brien, oh, no. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the San Andreas fault gives way. And when the San Andreas fault gives way, it can have up to a 10 earthquake, 10.0. The big one that we had in Northwood is only a 4.7. It's catastrophic. And if it happens during the day and you're in a parking garage, okay, everything's coming down. But here's the biggest problem. She said not a lot of people will die because of the earthquake, but they will die afterwards because there will be no running water to Los Angeles for 6 months. Okay? And she said all the electricity, everything's gone. That turns into martial law. That turns into craziness. That turns into yahoos running around, going to people's homes with guns and taking everything. And then it'll turn into raping and pillaging. Who knows? I mean, this city we are an inch away and people don't even have an earthquake kit. They have nothing. You're supposed to leave shoes by the bed because if a big earthquake hits, right, the biggest problem that you have or the biggest danger is cutting your feet, bro. Cutting your feet on glass that fell. You cut your feet, you can't get medical attention, you bleed out, you die. That's it. That's the reason most people die in an earthquake. They recommend highly having shoes. People don't even have that. And by the way, when I say people, I mean me. I'm dumb. I had a kit and then I put it in storage. I put it in my garage and it's like, I really got to look for it. So we're in a really tough situation, but I know this, when the other earthquake hit, FEMA wasn't a whole hell of a lot of help and they don't ever seem to be awesome. They just don't ever seem to be awesome. So guys like Tim Kennedy, I applaud that guy. He's a stud. He was a stud when he was fighting in the UFC, stud and a good guy. And he cares about people. And I say this is what we need to do. Okay. We need to deputize, or whatever the word is, give them power ahead of time. So his team has that status. So he has they all have a badge or whatever it is. So when things like this happen, they are allowed in. They've passed the test. They can help and aid FEMA. They can send their drones in, etc. That's what we need to do. But the federal government's tricky about stuff like that because then who gets the credit? Tim Kennedy's on the news saving babies, right? And old women from hospice care. And the government's got their finger in their nose, behind, you know what I mean? Standing behind.
Oh, no, yeah. No, and a month before an election, things get really, really sensitive. And there's games that get played there. But yeah, to your point, thank God for people like Tim Kennedy that would go on. I cannot imagine anybody paid them to do that. I mean, I just don't think that anybody could organize and get there that quickly with Delta Force. how he came up with the equipment that he was using for some of these extracts. I mean, this is really cool stuff. I got to speak to the lone survivor one time, and he was telling me about something where he had traveled somewhere, and this was about 8 or 9 years ago, but there was an embargo and we could not get there. And I said, well, how did you get there? And he literally laughed that I would ask the question and said, Chael, have you not listened to the story I've just told you? Like, I can get anywhere. You know, these rules, your job is to find a way through some of that red tape. And yeah, man, I was just proud of Tim and the guys. Very cool stuff.
Badass. I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to try to be cool, okay? But I do have a bone to pick with you.
Okay.
I heard a rumor, but it's from a reliable source.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Now I just want to stay calm while I do this because I don't want to come off rude. All right. I heard that you, Chael P. Sonnen, do not like The Sopranos. Let me brace myself for this answer. Remember who you're talking to. TV guy, Italian American.
Gonna put The Sopranos in the same category as the Hard Rock Cafe. When I was growing up, kids would come back to school at the beginning of the year, or they would come back after spring break, and they would have on, it would say Hard Rock Cafe, Los Angeles, Hard Rock Cafe, Maui, Hard Rock Cafe, Nashville, and it was the coolest place, and they would tell me how wonderful it was and about the guitars, and they had this cheeseburger, and I mean, it was really a cheeseburger from paradise, and it was so great. I finally get to the Hard Rock Cafe. I'm much older. I've missed all the waves. I never got the t-shirt. I'm in my first year of college. We wait in line for 2 hours. My sister ends up going to the University of San Diego. So while we're out there, we wait the 2 hours to get to the Hard Rock Cafe. It was terrible. It wasn't bad.
No, it's not good.
It was terrible.
Not good.
And I mean, to compare that, like to say Red Robin, where there's no line, it was so good. And nobody leveled with me to say this is no good. The people that were in there, that were acting happy, my own father, who I'm with, I said, Dad, this is not good. This is bad. We were poor, by the way. My father was a plumber. Like, it's not like I just knew really great chuck steak and the way to make a smash burger for the people. It was bad. And I thought, why does everybody say that? And I've got to compare that to The Sopranos.
Okay.
The Sopranos is so dull and boring. And it's disappointing. And it turned into like a painful hour. I'd be sitting there it was on Sundays at 6 p.m. Oregon time. And all my friends, we come over and I would just sit there painful. And so would they.
Wow.
When it got to 7 o'clock, we're like, oh, thank God, it's over. Everybody get out. It was so bad. But I also feel that I can prove it.
Okay.
Like, I don't just feel this is Chael's opinion. I feel that I could prove it.
Okay.
Who has ever watched it twice? And that right there is where you will stop most people. I go, well, your favorite song, your favorite movie, your favorite book, your favorite bedtime story. How many times you do that? Did you do that more than once? Oh, I love The Sopranos, the greatest TV ever. Have you watched it twice? And you come down with a no, and I go, okay, but were you even given the chance? Like, George Strait put out something called a box set and made $50 million. So did The Sopranos. Did you buy it? Do you know anyone that's bought it? Do you know a store that's selling it? Okay, great. You've heard of something called syndication. That's where Seinfeld and Cheers and all these friends and these greats live. It's not on syndication. You haven't even had a chance to watch it twice because they don't rerun it. Now, let's just set aside that right there. I've already proven that you don't love it the way you said you did. But now let me go a little step further.
Okay, go ahead.
Name one of them that's worked since. And don't tell me about Paulie that was pushing steaks and eggs for Denny's at 2 a.m. Tell me a real meaningful actor from that has ever worked since. Which, by the way, you could with most of them, but you couldn't in anything meaningful. And you can't do it because they're not good. They weren't good actors. And you don't know how it ended, by the way. I happen to know the director of the entire show. I feel as though I know how it ended. I feel as though at the end of that, the director really made The Sopranos was him. This was his life in a large part. So I don't think that they all got killed. Don't stop believing. Yes. That was a giant middle finger to the audience, if there ever is one. Wrap up your damn show. And when you have writers that can't do that, by the way, or even Scorsese himself will go to the screen. He'll like do a pullback of the scenic shot. He'll go to the screen and he'll write it out. It's like, hey man, you got to know how to wrap this. This is your product. It's your baby. It's your number of episodes. Finish it. Don't play a song from Journey and fade to black and roll the credits. I'm just sharing, even aside from the way that it ended, this is supposed to be about action. This is supposed to be mobsters. I know guys that'll go out and they'll make a Western. And they don't understand. People watch Westerns for two reasons, and there's no exception. The horse, the guy on the horse, and the quick draw.
Absolutely.
If you have a Western and you don't have a quick draw, you don't have a Western. You've made something else. You made a low-budget something in the country. And I only share that you got this mobster movie. Well, you're going to have to do some mobster stuff every now and then. You're going to have to move some kilos. You're going to have to get in a shootout. You're going to have backstabbings. And it turned into a drama where it's just going, you're going, my God, this isn't funny. Didn't try to be. It's not a love story. Didn't try to be. There's no action, but I'm promised action because it's a mobster show. Yeah, man, I don't believe people when they say that they loved it. And I'll tell you something else, to act as though it's the #1 show on TV just tells me you've never seen The Wire. And it tells me, you want to know one of the top shows ever made? It doesn't get credit. It was on a small network at that time called FX, but that was a brand new network called The Shield.
The Shield.
The Shield is
Michael
one of the
Chiklis.
great shows. Mayans, Sons of Anarchy. They're all Vic Mackey. But Mayans and Sons of Anarchy are
Great
all
show.
spin-off of The Shield. That's where they got all of this stuff was from The Shield. That was the original. In fact, it's the same writer. In fact, it's largely the same cast. And I just share that, like, Sopranos isn't completely rotten garbage. I mean, that isn't totally my contention. But my contention is when you have people that are scared. One of the worst movies I ever had to live through, and it is possibly the most decorated Western of all time. It's called Unforgiven.
Oh, yeah.
Clint Eastwood was in
Yes.
it. So you have to like it. Now, there is a couple of quick draws in that, and they filmed every one of them in the dark. So you couldn't see a single quick draw. And then they gave them awards for cinematography and how well they did. What a bunch of elitists scratching each other's balls. They don't mean it. If I can't see you draw, how do I give you an award for that picture? And it won everything, and it was painfully boring.
Okay. All right. Couple of things. First of all, I'm going to agree with you on the fact that you're just not a fan of artistic license, and you're not a fan of like, we're going to give it to you, but we're going to give it to you so different. Like, that is a thing that Hollywood celebrates. You're 100% right. They celebrate the oddities. They celebrate, oh, this entire movie, there was no dialogue, and we love it so much, because it's such a bold choice, because they could never like the regular thing, Chael. See, you're the opposite of a person that would vote, for instance, for the Academy. The people who vote for the Academy, by and large, in my opinion, are fans of artistic expression and never hitting the nail on the head. It was so smart. They did the quick draw, but they did it differently. And in the defense of the writers and directors that are creating this material, they have to walk into a room, Chael, with people with their legs crossed that are waiting, that hear 12 pitches a day. Well, that's an exaggeration, but they hear 3 pitches a day. And you have to wow them. If you're coming in with, we're going to do everything standard. It's going to be mob all the way. It's going to be this. You're going to see every quick draw. They just are not interested. So it is incumbent upon the writer, okay, or the director or the producers to always be different and to deliver different. Every time you pitch something, Chael, they are going to ask you, what's different about it? Like, okay, what separates this? So it kind of forces their hand. That's number one. And I can see, because I'm the same way. I'm like, listen, everybody talks. There's a thing called Letterboxd where they ask actors and directors and people in the industry, what's your 4 favorite movies? Which I want to get yours, by the way. But there's a very famous question. You can go on Instagram, go on their site, and you'll see every actor you know has said their favorite 4. Here's the problem. Most actors don't want to say the regular movies that make them seem average. They're not going to say a lot of them. They're not going to say Jaws. You know what I mean? They're not going to say The Godfather because that's the typical thing. So they'll say, like, I like a small movie called Le Phone, which is a French film, all shot from a cell phone. It's like all these weird, you've never heard of 90% of the stuff they bring up. And I haven't either. And I'm a movie guy. And I'm like, wait, what is this? And they have to sound smart and different. When in fact, they're probably not watching those movies in their, in their leisure time. They're watching the stuff we would watch. But you can't admit it in Hollywood. You always have to be different. So I get that. But if I was cross-examining you on the Sopranos thing, all right, I'm a lawyer, we're in court, and I say, good afternoon, Mr. Sonnen. So you made a very impassioned plea why you didn't like the Sopranos. Yet you got to the final episode, so you didn't stop watching it when you didn't like it, and you still brought your friends over. Why?
And my answer to that would be because I am constantly told how great it was, and I keep my expectations up. And that would be the real truth. Like, I usually go see a movie if somebody else says how great it is. And the Academy will burn you, man. They burn you over and over.
Oh, they will burn you time and time again. This movie, by the way, that goes the other way. How many times do you see, like, how about the critics when they say a movie is so great and you go see it and you say, what? Like, I'm going to give you one. Ready? I don't know if you saw this movie, but it won every Academy Award a couple of years ago. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Garbage.
Have you seen it?
It's terrible.
Garbage.
Because
the worst movie I've ever seen.
It fails the only test that matters. Did I enjoy that? Yeah, was it fun to watch? Right? Go in there for 2 hours, I give you $10.
No.
Was it fun?
No.
And if the answer is no, it can't win any awards. But they give them all the awards.
Thank you.
It's ridiculous.
Everyone. Now, Chael, this is, I'm glad I thought of this because that is the example of what I'm trying to say. So you got a movie that is sitting there, and this movie breaks it makes a cardinal sin, which is do not confuse the audience. If you are confused, you cannot be entertained. You know when you walk in a movie and you're halfway through and you're telling your buddy, wait, hold on, did this guy kill somebody? Why is this person with that? You can't enjoy it because you're trying to make logical sense of the movie. If you tell me, I'm going to go further, forget you. If the filmmakers of that movie told me they understood what they were doing with the sausage fingers and all that shit that they were doing, I'll sit back and I will rescind my critique here. Okay. You don't know what you're doing. You're doing it for effect. You're doing it because you look cool. You're doing it because, Chael, if I'm show you something and I'm like, look what I shot, and you're like, well, I don't really understand it. It's a shot of a light switch, right? And I'm like, yes, but it represents the world, Chael, and it represents on and off, and it's in the off position at the beginning. It's in the on position. It's where we are with the election. And I got to tell you some bullshit that I came up with, right, in the moment. I'm with you. I'm a regular kid from Cranston, Rhode Island that was raised on movies. I love the industry, but I hate the phoniness. I hate it with a passion. I like a regular movie, but to me, The Sopranos had that, and it was all because of the characters. James Gandolfini is an excellent actor. Michael Imperioli, to answer your question, is still working. He was in The White Lotus recently.
Love that show.
Oh, that show is a 10 out of 10. Mike
Agreed.
White, who also did The School of Rock, great writer and director. This guy is before Lotus, he was so underrated. He is just he understands the human condition better than almost anybody. This guy can make you interested in anything. Just people on vacation, right? Put them on there, make them human, make the stories count. Oh, is that good? That show gets better. You know, the new one it takes place in Thailand, season 3. It's already filmed, so it'll be out soon on HBO.
No, I love that, but I really appreciate that. And we're gonna keep Will Smith out of it because of a very clear bias. So excluding Will, if you were to ask me who the best actor in Hollywood was, I realize the greatest thespian, that award, popular opinion, is probably gonna go to Daniel Day-Lewis. That is the wrong answer. The greatest thespian is actually Ed Norton, but he's so young they wouldn't give it to him. But I would put
awesome.
as the best actor, I'm gonna put Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Washington in one of those orders. Yeah, and you go,
sure.
Wait a minute, but Wahlberg's the best. And I say, yeah, because I can count on him every time. Will actually would fall into the same category. He will pick a script, the opposite of what Steve Carell is able to do. Steve Carell cannot pick a script. He will bring a character that we like, and the script itself will suck. And then you're watching Tales of Narnia, and you're just going, where is Michael Scott? But it's the opposite with Wahlberg. And I've got to say, Denzel, they pick the scripts where you go, man, that was great. Wahlberg turned out to be funny. You've seen the TED shows. Turns out he's funny. Then he's the handsome guy. He can play a badass if you watch the boxing movies. I love him as an action hero. I wish that they would do more of that. But I've got to put him because, and I only bring that up because it brings me back to my original point, that if you're going to give awards and you're going to recognize something that's wonderful in front of the Academy, who we then are trusting, and we have our deal with the Academy, which is if you say it's great and I'll go part with my time and my money. If it doesn't pass the simple, was that entertaining? For 2 hours of your time and $10 of it, were you entertained? And if the answer is no, I was bored, you have failed. And when they fail and then give them awards because they somehow have a higher understanding and a higher sophistication, it's like, no, you don't. You have more expensive drugs and a smaller college degree. Shut up. Show me something entertaining.
Fail up. That is one of the things that we are frustrated the most in that industry is about failing up. It's happened in television. It's the ruination of the sitcom. The multi-camera sitcom was so great, as we know, 70s, 80s, 90s, Cheers, right? The multi-camera in front of the audience, Friends, right? It goes all the way back, Taxi, all these great shows. It was a beautiful art form. One of my favorites. I love it. I love the way sitcoms are filmed. And it got destroyed by the same writers being hired year after year who just kept failing. They would make pilots that nobody watched. The people have spoken, Chael. The people have spoken. It's a clear thing. You put something out, you advertise the hell out of it on NBC, CBS, or ABC. They put the money behind it, and then nobody shows up. And oddly, the person who wrote that, Chael, I'm talking I know I won't mention names, but 10, 11, 12 seasons in a row, they make pilots because they have they're darlings of the industry, okay? And they make a pilot and it fails and they get a new deal. And they get like 3 more years added to their deal. It was happening forever. And eventually people got tired of these bad sitcoms. And where is the multi-camera sitcom now? I ask you, what's a great multi-cam sitcom right now today? You know, we had that, what was it called? The Big Bang Theory for a while. You had Mom, you had these shows, but those are old now. What is the new thing that everybody's watching? Really? If there's 1 or 2, maybe, but there used to be a ton, and it's a dead art form because people in this town fail up and they reward people that are like in the sitcom industry. It's like, oh, he's so smart or she's so smart. Oh, they're so smart. Their writing is so smart. And it's like, yeah, but they're not relating to the regular person. The people who wrote Cheers weren't, I mean, they were very smart people, don't get me wrong, but they dumbed it down then for the rest of us, because when I saw Ted Danson behind that bar and the characters that surrounded him, I understood it. Okay. Now it's like these sitcoms are like these high art, high intellectual. No, bye. So miss me with all that. I'm with you, bro. I hate it. And as far as the movie star stuff, Mark Wahlberg, I don't say he's one of the best actors, but he's definitely a great movie star. There's a distinction there, bud. There's a distinction there, right? Denzel is an actor and a movie star. Daniel Day-Lewis is an actor, right? He doesn't do it for the money. He's not trying to be in the big $300 million movie from, the next one from Marvel. He is a true actor. And I will recommend one other person. My favorite of them all is Javier Bardem.
He's scary. I'll never get over No Country for Old Men. I will never look at him. I can't. That is one of these scary. You will lose sleep over that as a grown man.
Yes, I agree. When he walks in that convenience store and he says, call it. And the old man behind the thing is like, well, I don't know what I'm betting. I can't tell you if I want heads or tails because I don't know what it is. And he's like, call it, friendo. And then the explosion behind and that hair and the face. He's brilliant, but I just saw him recently. I don't know if you saw the Menendez TV show.
Heard all about it.
Monsters.
I have not watched it. I think Netflix hosted that.
Netflix, and let me tell you, Javier Bardem plays the dad. And it gets to episode 6 where they really spotlight his character. Bro, there are actors and then there are Javier Bardem. He is just a league ahead. And all the other actors in this show are fantastic. But when he shows up, man, he's the GOAT. In my opinion, it's him and Denzel. They go down as the best. And Daniel Day-Lewis. It's a threesome.
I'm going to throw one in just for conversation, but Gary Oldman, I feel like doesn't quite get his credit. I feel like he can do some things acting-wise that are very impressive and very hard to do. Hey, by the way, you want to just know a really great actor, and I did not know it, but was DiCaprio. And I've always found him entertaining. I find him fun. I find him handsome and charming. But to be a good actor, in One Night in Hollywood.
Oh, brother. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, he pretended to be an actor within a movie that's screwing up his lines. He as an actor had to show up and act like an actor who couldn't get his lines right, and getting the wrong lines was the correct lines because that's what Tarantino wanted to do. Like, I was truly blown away. I did not know he was that skilled. I remember him way back. There was a show called Growing Pains. And he was little brother to Mike and Jason Steve to Kirk Cameron. Exactly right.
Kirk Cameron.
And I want to say maybe even like little and adopted brother. He didn't have a massive role, but I remember him from that.
Yes,
he was a cute enough kid that he could get on TV. To find out that he had those kind of acting chops, I was really impressed with DiCaprio. I gotta give him that. Brad Pitt surprised me a couple of times. Like, I enjoy his work, but then to see it, Matt Damon, I enjoy his work, but to find out, I mean, Matt Damon is as Bourne is the ultimate of that entire. I mean, he does so incredibly well, but then he'll also play a funny guy, and he'll go on and he'll be funnier than fun. Channing Tatum has surprised me before.
Last night, we just started watching Blink Twice. Have you seen it and you know about it?
No. No, I don't know anything. Channing Tatum?
Buddy, it's on Prime right now, okay? It's for rent on Prime. It's only $5 or something, but it'll be streaming free soon. It's directed by Zoe Kravitz, who is just it's Lenny Kravitz's daughter, Lisa Bonet's daughter. She's a brilliant actress in her own right, but what a director. Buddy, watch this movie. It's about an Epstein type guy who owns this island. And he's a billionaire, a tech billionaire played by Channing Tatum. And he invites these 2 women to his private island. And there's like hallucinations and drugs and inappropriate stuff. But it's done through this like fantasy, weird, surreal lens. And I'm telling you, Chael, this balances the thing that makes you go, the stuff that we were talking about earlier, the artistic nature with a commercial bend, that's the perfect thing. When everybody can be in on it and everybody can understand it, but it's also artistic. This woman, I'm telling you, if she gets nominated, she might even get nominated. She's, as a director, bravo. We only saw the first half and we got tired and we shut it off. But just FYI, blink twice, definitely watch it. And you brought up one of my favorite movies and you revved me up now because Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I've made videos about this and on, dude, it's my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. And people go, how? It's Pulp Fiction, bro. I'm like, listen, I get your opinion and I see what you're saying, but for my dollar, just sitting there watching a movie, I was so entertained because of DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's characters. Having a guy that is aging out of Hollywood in the 60s and used to be this television star and now he's like a relic and he can't get it together. And he, like you said, he goes and does that TV show with Timothy Olyphant, right? And he messes up his lines and he's in the dressing room and he's kicking himself and he's like, you suck, you've been drinking all night, you stupid idiot. And he's beating himself up and then he goes out on set, wins, gets the greatest line, and that little girl says to him, which is just, it's so mind-blowingly good. She says to him, that's the best acting I've ever seen. She's 10, by the way. Okay. And he goes, he's got the fake mustache, you know, with the thing, the character and the tassels. And he goes, thank you. And he's like fully like it washes over him because he needs that validation as a character. And in the end, when he saves, you know, spoiler alert, but when he saves Sharon Tate from the murder and Brad Pitt is smashing the faces and killing everybody and he's high on PCP. Chael, last little bit on that movie. It's definitely my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, and it's in the top 5 of my favorite movies of all time. The other day, about a week ago, I'm driving in LA. I'm on a phone call. You know when you just drive aimlessly because you're talking? And it was like a business thing, and I'm driving around. Chael, I drive up a street right, literally from here, it's a half a mile. And I'm driving, and I stop, and I look, and I go, wait a minute. And it was Rick Dalton's house. I was at the location for Rick Dalton's house, and next door was the Sharon Tate house. And I was sitting, it's in Studio City. It is not Cielo Drive, which is the actual location where all that took place. And I will take a picture and a video and I will send it to you because it's up top of the street. And I was geeking out and I'm on this call and I'm like, that's Rick Dalton's house. And I went online and looked it up and sure enough, it was the right location. Great movie. Love that you brought that up. I couldn't agree with you more. DiCaprio, regular movies like that entertain you. What is better than that? And then you have the Everything Everywhere All at Once movies where you just sit there and go, wait, where are we? What's happening? Why? Huh? Boom, boom. And then it gets every award. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood didn't win many awards, okay? But guess what did? Everything Everywhere All at Once. Maybe even the same year.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did another thing for me. And when you go watch a 3-hour movie, it's like, hey, man, you got to wrap it. That's enough. I wish there was another couple hours. I mean, I really enjoyed that. And it also made me look back to a movie called Inglourious Basterds.
Yes.
And that won a lot of awards and it got a lot of praise. And I had a big problem with it where I'm saying, hey, wait a minute. The way that this ended and Hitler's life ended is required learning in every high school in America. So we all know this, that I went off to college and became required learning a second time. So for you to change this and lock him in a theater with 1,000 other people and to burn them, that's just simply not how this ended. So when I watch One Night in Hollywood, what I realized is Tarantino is attempting to give us the ending we wish would have happened. The ending that we wanted. And it changed everything for me. And it made me look back on Inglourious Basterds and go, yes, I'm glad it won the awards. Now I understand.
Love it. Before we end, Chael, we didn't talk any MMA today. Could I ask you a couple of questions, get your quick thoughts on a few things?
Sure.
Just give me a yay or nay, what you think, what your opinion. Tony Ferguson recently said he's not retiring. He's 40 years old. And he said, I refuse to retire. Okay, I just need a good coach. All right. And I've been doing this too long. I'm too old to retire, I think is one of the words he said, or some ironic statement. He's on an 8. We all love Tony Ferguson. Let's just put that out there. But he's on an 8-fight skid. Thoughts?
Well, along with that statement, I had actually read it myself. But he said, I'm 40 years old. I've been doing this for 35 years. I got to get a coach. And it's like, okay, Tony, let me just stop you right there. If you've been at this 35 years and you don't have a coach or you don't have the coaching aspect worked out yet, and it's just not a situation where you're going to find somebody. I mean, it is the business in the professional sport. The coach gets a take. He's not looking to put this time into a 40-year-old that doesn't have a contract with a major organization when he could put it into a 21-year-old who has a prospect to still go on and be a pay-per-view draw. And I don't say that to falter Tony. Tony knows better. And Tony is at a stage where he's ready to be that coach. Tony's a very knowledgeable guy. He loves kids. He loves working with them. He's got gyms all over. Tony, Go become a coach.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. I saw a video of Alex Pereira showing up. It was a behind the scenes thing, and he showed up to the fight with Khalil Roundtree. And he showed up at the morning of the weigh-in, 6:30 a.m. at 217. I think the average person in the world, and I think a lot of people that are watching this, I mean, we understand there's weight cuts, but how extreme is that to have to go to 205 in that short a period of time? And is it healthy at all? He looked like he was going through hell, but he's such a stud, it's hard to tell.
A number of people could pull 12 pounds. The thing that you have to understand here is he wasn't feeling well. He's got a bad toe, so all of a sudden running isn't going to happen. Getting up and working super hard. He'd done 2 rounds of antibiotics, so we've got to understand that. And as far as pulling 12 pounds, if it were me, I would have done it the night before. I would have got it down for peace of mind. I'd have laid in bed. You can't sleep because your mouth's so dry and dehydrated. I'd have fantasized about food, and I imagine most people on the card did the same thing. He got up the morning of. So he pulled whatever he pulled the night before, and it wasn't that he had to just cut 12 pounds. So he had to cut 12 more pounds. He got that off in 3 hours. I mean, don't forget, he weighed in at 9 in the morning. We can check that was documented. It's 6 o'clock when the story that you're telling, 6:12 in the morning. He had less than 3 hours, and he pulled off 12 pounds like it was nothing. Said he fully recovered, went out, took care of business the next night. Man, this guy's special. There's no story about him that is an exaggeration. And by the way, there's no story that anybody else has ever done, man. This guy is a trailblazer.
Trailblazer. By the way, add in this one. This guy, Bardem, I want to say his last name is, I'm going to mess it up, but it's like Vikidov or something. He beat Pereira in a kickboxing match, and he was on Dana White's Contender Series, and he had a bit of a lackluster performance. He won, but he didn't win decisively. And apparently Dana White, backstage, asked Pereira. Pereira was there, and he said, look, I'm not wildly impressed, but I like the idea of bringing him to the UFC. Possible. What do you think? And the stud that he is, Pereira says, absolutely give this man a chance. Now, part of that could be like, I want to avenge my loss, possibly, but also like down the road if this guy proves himself. But it just shows his spirit. Like he's not intimidated. He's not petty. He's just becoming the coolest dude ever real quickly.
No, I'm seeing it. I'm feeling it too. And as adults, we just doesn't happen. We watch Superman as kids and we dream of being Superman. But for adults to be brought to a guy, that character on Yellowstone, Rip, we discussed. People watch Yellowstone, they fantasize about getting a ranch in Montana, but we don't usually do that as adults. The Rock was able to establish that with like college age, but still people that were a little older to do that. And then to see Pereira, man, to look at the respect and adoration that he has from you and from me and the guys in the locker room, it's very rare. He is a tremendous leader, and I really hope he uses that for good, because whether he wants to be a leader or not, he is, and people are going to follow him.
Well, I
hope he brings them up, but I think he will.
Sorry to interrupt you. I see his kids, he's got 2 boys. They're both training. They look like, I don't know if you saw their training footage. They're sparring, and they fight exactly like him. They're well-mannered young men. It says a lot about him. You can see how he treats his children, how he treats people around him. He's been with the same guy, Polinio Cruz or whatever his name is, for a long time. And he's just, the guy is just really something.
And Soch, I don't know if you saw, he actually cornered his sister over the weekend in combat karate.
I saw that.
And she got a knockout. I was like, whoa, man, this whole family is talented.
I'm telling you, his kids are good. But that sister, Aileen, I believe her name is, she devastating knockout, much like Pereira would do with those, just the way she hits and oh man, what a family, what a guy. Where was this guy hiding? I guess he was hiding in plain sight in kickboxing, but my God. Okay, this is gross. Why do people do this? I saw a video of GSP eating, I don't know if you saw this, a raw beef testicle. But why though? Like why? He gagged twice and then he finally got it down, but like, why? What is the reason?
I couldn't imagine. I could not begin to imagine. And all I can relate it to is I had to dissect a worm one time in class, in a biology class in 6th grade, and this guy named Chris ate it and got the girls to freak out or something. I mean, I can't think of any reason to do it aside from attention. The Liver King got busted. It's not like it's not like it's good for you. Not to mention it's a ball.
It's a ball, bro, and it's this
not to
big.
mention it's raw. Like there's no part of that I. And George is a cool guy.
Yes.
He doesn't need the quick pop from the girls going, ew. I don't know.
He doesn't need it.
Know.
He's already got it.
That's George St. Pierre, man.
Last thing, we got to get one of these. All right. So do you know that the UFC has a seat guy? Have you seen this?
No.
There's a guy, I want to say his name is they said his name. I don't want to. I think it's Miles or something, but I just doing that. His job, his sole purpose, working for the UFC, is to stand behind Cormier, Anik, and Rogan. So when they stand up and they're like, ah, blah, 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 to make sure they sit back in their chair. And there's video of this guy, and it's incredible. He's a young kid. He's in his 20s, and he just makes sure. And like, even when if they're leaning forward, for instance, they're going this, he just comes over and places a gentle hand on Cormier's back. It is his job. And Anik is the guy that put out the tweet or whatever it was by saying, we want to give a big up to our guy, Ethan, whatever his name was. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. It's Miles or something. And we want to say thank you for keeping us in our seats or whatever it is. And that is a real job. And that is what that guy does. And he is very proficient at it. It's really cool to watch. We should get him. We should hire him. Me and you. You move around a lot.
And I love it. Yeah. I mean, if like Miles is looking for an intern or something, yeah, I know a few guys that could actually probably do that job. That's a very cool story. And I love that Anik put him over, by the way.
Yes.
Anik is one guy, is not afraid to share the credit. Anik will make sure. He's a great leader. Anik really is. He is the first guy there. He is the most prepared. He is the last guy to leave, and not even maybe. Every single time.
Really?
Consummate professional. Yes, true story.
I mean, the way he speaks, the way he presents the information, I mean, he is just as good as they get, and he's likable, and he's cool. He knows the sport. He respects the sport. He is a stud. I remember he used to have a TV show. I was on I remember he used to end it. It was an MMA show before he was a commentator. And he would always end by saying, don't text and drive. I remember that. And I remember going, boy, the guy's really good at what he does. And I'm so glad to see him and Cormier and you. Like the team right now, I think we're at the height of MMA greatness behind the scenes and in front. I think it's the best time for the sport. And I'm loving it. I have like 5,000 other things to ask you, but we live to ask another day, my friend.
No, we had more important things. We had movies to talk about.
Yes.
And I got a friend that's jammed up for, they're saying murder. I hope not. I hope not.
What has he been charged with, by the way? I didn't ask you.
They charged him with murder and
murder.
Then they charged the sister, and they let her out on bail. She put up $250. She got out on bail. He
250,000.
No, yes.
And so she only had to put 25,000. You don't have to put 10%.
That's correct. 10%. Yeah.
So his bail must have been huge.
Yeah, and what she had done there was, I think she's the one that drove him to the hospital and then helped with some of that paperwork that said motorcycle wreck. Like they were really upset with that omission. So
yeah, the cops don't like it when you lie to them. But
no,
you know what? Tell your friend this. Everything I've ever seen, and again, not an expert, but everything I've ever seen, the scariest part a lot of the time is when you're with the cops and they're interrogating you because they're trying to get information. They have the ability to lie to you, number one. A lot of people don't know that. So cops can say, hey, Chael, we get your DNA. It's an odd thing, but your DNA showed up. How would that be? To try to trap you. You're allowed to lie as a detective. So don't let him get rattled. Let him get with a good lawyer. It's just massively important. I wish him all the best. I don't know the guy, but it sounds like a really unfortunate situation, obviously. And man, keep me posted, brother.
I will keep you posted. Soch, I appreciate it. This was actually the most fun I have had with you. Thank you,
right?
brother. I'll talk to you real soon, I hope.
Yes, for sure. All right, buddy. Talk soon.
Kaboom!